Do you struggle with where to draw the line? I'm not talking about the line on a map, and I'm certainly not talking about a credit card limit or some flimsy diet plan you started on Monday morning only to abandon it by Tuesday lunch because the world felt too heavy and the cravings felt too sharp. I'm talking about something much deeper, much more visceral. I'm talking about the line of your own soul. I'm talking about the internal governor that tells you when to stop, when to push back, and when more has officially crossed the line into less. We live in an age of maximums. Look around you. Everything is designed to be unlimited. Maximum productivity, maximum content, maximum growth, maximum engagement. We've been fed a steady, sugary diet of unlimited potential since we were sitting in diapers in front of a screen. We are told by every coach, every influencer, and every corporate manifesto that the sky is the limit. And here in 2026, we've taken that advice literally. We want to be the ones holding the lightning. We want to be the kings and queens of our digital domain, throwing bolts of influence and authority from the comfort of our ergonomic chairs, expecting the world to bend to our will at the speed of a fiber optic connection. We want the power of the sky, but we have forgotten that the sky has weight. We want the lightning, but we don't want the responsibility of the atmosphere that creates it. But have you ever noticed that the faster you go, the less control you actually have over the vessel? Imagine for a second that you are out here on the water with me. The boat is pinned at full throttle. The engine isn't just humming anymore, it is screaming. It's that high-pitched, terrifying mechanical whine that tells you the gears are at their absolute breaking point, that the metal is turning red hot and grinding against metal, and the cooling system is rapidly failing. The fog out here on the sticks is so thick it's cloying that you can't see the cypress trees until they are mere inches from the bow, their jagged roots reaching out like fingers to pull you under. You are moving too fast. You are moving at a velocity that would make your ancestors tremble. But are you actually moving towards anything meaningful? Or are you just moving because you're afraid of what will happen if you slow down? Are you afraid of the silence that comes when that engine stops? Most people in this modern landscape think power is the ability to act. They think it's the yes. They think it's the more. They think that power is the sheer horsepower of the engine. But the ancients, the people who built the foundations of the world that we are currently trying to disrupt and optimize, they knew something we have forgotten. They knew that true power isn't found in the accelerator. True power is found in the brake. True power is the ability to refrain and hold back. It is the strength to look at a billion options and say, I don't choose any of them. It is the authority to say no when the entire world is screaming at you to say yes. Welcome back to the River Styx on a Motorboat. I'm your captain, Terry Stubbs. Last episode, we dropped anchor with Hestia. We turned off the engine, we let the vibration die out of the floorboards, and we looked at the fire in the center of the home, the hearth. We talked about knowing thyself as a foundation, a center of gravity that keeps you from being swept away by the current. We learned that you cannot travel safely. You cannot be a pioneer or an explorer if you don't have a hearth to return to. We established that the hearth isn't just a place, it's the anchor of the soul. But today we are leaving the safety of the hearth. We are pulling up that anchor and we are heading for the peak of the mountain. We are meeting the king of Olympus himself. We are talking about Zeus, and we are pairing him with the most practical, most dangerous, and most frequently ignored piece of advice ever carved into stone. Nothing in excess. Today isn't just a history lesson. It is a survival manual for a world that has lost its sense of proportion. Today is about the heavy, dangerous, and ultimate responsibility of the limit. Welcome aboard. Pull up a seat, get comfortable, but keep your eyes on the horizon. If you've been with us for the last few legs of the journey, you know the protocol. We don't just wander aimlessly, we navigate by the stars of the ancients. We take a god, we take a maxim, and we see how well they handle the choppy, polluted water of the 20th. Today, our North Star is the concept of Miden Agan, nothing in excess. I want you to visualize this scene. Imagine you're a traveler in the ancient world. You've walked for weeks, you're dusty, you're tired, and you're standing at the base of the temple of Apollo at Delphi, next to the navel of the earth. This was the most sacred spot in the known world of the day. Before you can even get inside to ask the oracle about your future, you have to pass under the lintel of the entryway. And there, carved into the very stone by the 7 sages, are the rules of engagement for being a human being. The first one, as we discussed in the last episode, was know thyself. But right next to it, sharing equal space, etched with the same weight and authority, was the phrase, nothing in excess. Now, in our modern world, we hear that and we dismiss it almost immediately. Why? Because we think it's about moderation. We think it's a polite, slightly boring way of saying, don't eat too many fries, or don't stay up too late on a school night or a work night. We think it is a lifestyle suggestion for people who want to live a safe, balanced life. We think it is the motto of the mediocre. That is a first century dilution. That is a weak, soft, sanitized version of one of the most brutal cosmic truths. To a Greek, nothing in excess wasn't a suggestion for healthy living. It was simply a law of physics. It was a warning about symmetry. The ancients believed that the universe was a giant invisible scale. If you put too much on one side, even if that weight is justice, even if it's success, even if it's competence, the scale doesn't just tip, it breaks. It snaps the mechanisms of the world. The Greeks had a specific, terrifying word for what happens when you ignore this limit. Hubris. And hubris always, not sometimes, not occasionally, always leads to retribution. They believed that the cosmos is a delicate web of proportions. If you take too much, the universe will eventually move to take it back. Too much rain isn't just extra water. It's a flood that destroys the crops. Too much sun isn't good weather. It's a drought that turns the earth to dust. Too much power in the hands of one man, regardless of his intentions, doesn't lead to order. It leads to a tyrant. In 2026, we have forgotten how to recognize the tipping point. We have been taught that more is the only direction worth traveling. We have been told that if something is good, then all must be better. We have turned excess into a virtue and limit into a dirty word. Today, we're translating nothing in excess for your life, your career, and your sanity as the responsibility of the limit. It is the deliberate act of building a fence around your own ego so you don't burn your kingdom down. It is the terrifying realization that just because you can do something, just because you have the technology, the money, or the status to pull the trigger, doesn't mean you should. It is the discipline of looking at that thunderbolt in your hand, feeling the heat of its power, and decide with total clarity not to throw it. It is the realization that the most powerful version of you is the one that knows exactly where you end and the rest of the world begins. And to understand how difficult this is and why we fail at it so consistently as a species, we have to look at the God who held the ultimate excess. We have to look at the one who held the thunderbolt. So let's talk about Zeus. He is the king of the gods. He is the god of Dike or justice, and Themis, which we can understand as divine law. He is the one who fought the Titans to bring a structured order to a chaotic universe. Without Zeus, the river we are floating on wouldn't have banks. It would just be an endless drowning flood. He is the framework. He is the structure. He is the one who says where the lightning stops and the ground begins. His primary weapon and the symbol of his authority is the thunderbolt. But think about what a lightning bolt actually is. It is absolute. It is instantaneous. It is final. There is no negotiation with a bolt of lightning. Once it is thrown, the decision is made. It is the ultimate expression of power. It is the maximum of action. Because Zeus held that power, the Greeks believed that the king must be the one most bound by the law, not the one above it. If you have the power to destroy anything, you must have the discipline to destroy nothing unless it is absolutely necessary. You must be the most self-contained person in the room. This and this alone is the essence of true authority. But this is where the mythology and the human soul gets very messy. Zeus is the god of order, yet his entire mythological career, what he is remembered and joked about the most for, is defined by excessive, destabilizing behavior. He had an appetite that just could not be satisfied. He was the protector of the home, yet he was the one constantly breaking the sanctity of his own marriage. He was the god of justice, yet he was often the first to ignore the rules when they got in the way of whatever he desired. The ancient Greeks were telling us something very profound here. They were saying, look at the king. If the very symbol of cosmic order cannot control his own desires, what chance does the rest of the world have? If the man with the thunderbolt can't say no to himself, how can he expect the universe to stay in balance? Zeus is the ultimate lesson that authority without self-governance is just a fancy word for weakness. If you hold on to the thunderbolt, but you don't have the discipline to keep it in its holster until it is absolutely necessary, you aren't a leader. You're just a hazard. You're just a storm with an ego. And eventually, as the myth tells us, the storm burns itself out, leaving nothing but ash and regret. We see this today in the great man leaders who build empires on the outside while their internal worlds are collapsing into ruin because they never learned the word enough. To truly understand how to handle the Zeus within us, we have to look through the eyes of the four great schools of thought. This is where we move from mythology to a manual for life. First, the Socratic lens. Socrates would pull us aside in the marketplace and ask us to define power. He would ask, is the ability to throw the bolt, or is it the wisdom to know why you are throwing it? If you cannot explain the why behind your actions, Socrates would argue you aren't a king. You are but a slave to your own biology. He would force us to cross-examine our lore. Why do you want more followers? Why do you want more money? Is it for the sake of the good? Or is it just an excess of ego? To Socrates, a life without limits is a life without definition. It's just noise. Second, the Stoic lens. Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus would look at Zeus's constant infidelity and see a man who is a slave to his own impressions. To a Stoic, the only true king is the one who rules his own mind. Zeus may rule the sky, But if he can't rule his own appetites, he is spiritually homeless. The Stoic would remind us that nothing in excess is the only way to maintain the structural integrity of the soul. If you allow your emotions or your desires to become excessive, you have handed over your tiller to the storm and you have abandoned your post. Thirdly, the Epicurean lens. Epicurus would argue that Zeus's constant pursuit of more is actually a source of great anxiety. By chasing every impulse, he creates a cycle of conflict with Hera and the other gods. He is never at rest. True joy, or ataraxia, is found in the removal of these excessive, unnecessary desires. An Epicurean would tell you that the most powerful thing you can do is to simplify. Trade the thunderbolt for a garden. Trade the maximum for the enough. Only when you stop wanting everything can you actually enjoy what you have. Finally, the Platonic lens. Plato would see the thunderbolt as the ideal form of justice, but he would see Zeus's behavior as the shadow. He would argue that a leader's soul must be in harmony with reason, or the high mind governing the appetites. If the appetites take the throne, the city, and the person will fall into tyranny. Plato would ask you, who is ruling your boat? The pilot who knows the stars, or the passenger who is just hungry or in a hurry? Okay, let's talk about the swan mask. Zeus is famous for his disguises, turning into bulls, gold showers, which has its own connotation, or birds to get what he wanted without the consequences of his true identity. He wanted the thrill without the accountability. He wanted the access without the cosmic contract of honesty. In 2026, we see this in Zeusian leaders, the influencers who curate a life they don't live, the CEOs who preach values they don't practice. They wear the mask of success to bypass the boundaries of truth. They use their prestige to bypass the consent of those around them. Talking about this, we have to talk about modern relationships. Some might think, hey, Zeus was just an early adopter of non-monogamy. But in modern ethical non-monogamy, the ethics stands for honesty, radical transparency, and shared boundaries. It is about a limit that everyone in the group agrees to. Zeus, however, was the poster child for toxic non-monogamy. He used deception at every chance. He used power imbalances. He used swan masks to bypass the consent of others because he thought his need for the thrill was more important than the limit of the law. He left Hera to deal with the fallout while he moved on to his next conquest. The lesson for us today is this: if you can't achieve your goal without a mask, you are in excess, whether that's in your relationships, your business deals, your social media persona. If you are using disguises to bypass the boundaries of other, you aren't being a king. You're being a coward. True authority is being truthful about your desires rather than hiding behind a mask of prestige. Only the weak need to lie to get what they want. But how do we apply nothing in excess when our entire society is built on the engine of more? In 2026, our biggest excess isn't just physical appetite, it's information excess. We are paralyzed by the paradox of choice. We have the thunderbolt of the internet in our pockets, instant access, instant action, instant knowledge, but we waste it. We spend our thunder trying to decide which of 50 shows to watch or which of 100 emails to answer first. We are over consuming and underacting. We are drowning in a sea of more and starving for a single drop of meaning. We have become a culture of spectators with the tools of creators. I want you to audit your authority load. Are you taking excessive responsibility at work or at home that doesn't actually belong to you? Zeus was the governor, not the grunt. His job was to maintain the structure, not to do everyone else's job for them. If you are micromanaging your team or your family, you aren't leading, you're overfunctioning. You are burning your lightning on trivial things. You are so busy putting out small fires that you don't see the Titan-sized fire on the horizon. Nothing in excess means having the discipline to say, that is beyond my jurisdiction. It means saving your lightning for the real storms. It means understanding that your time is finite and your energy is a thunderbolt that only has a few strikes in it. Don't waste them on the trivial. All right, it's time for the motorboat moment. Look at the tiller in Charon's hand in our podcast banner. He isn't pinning the engine to the max. He isn't letting the boat spin out of control in the mist. He is wrestling with the resistance of the water. He is managing the limit. He knows exactly how much throttle is needed to move and how much is excess. He knows that if he goes too fast, the boat will flip and go out of control. If he goes too slow, the current will take him and he'll be lost. This episode, your challenge is the boundary audit. Look at your calendar for the next 48 hours. I want you to find one commitment, one meeting, or one activity that is unnecessary excess, something you're doing just to look busy or to maintain a mask of power. It could be taking out your kids, the garbage for your kids rather than making them do it. It could be anything. If it's made to look because you are looking busy or because you're afraid to say no, delete that. Honor that boundary like it was an unbreakable cosmic law. Save your thunderbolt. Limit where you spend your power so that when you must act, when you need to set a boundary, demand justice, or protect your home, your authority is respected and your thunder is ready. You aren't being lazy. You are being a king. You are practicing the responsibility of the limit. So we have lit the fire. Now we have set the limit. But as any ruler knows, where there is power, there is also a shadow. Next episode, we leave the heights of Olympus and we are going down, deep down. We are going into the dark, silent depths of the underworld. We are meeting Zeus's older brother, the Lord of the Dead, Hades, and we are pairing him with the most terrifying and necessary maxim of all, hate hubris. We'll discuss why confronting mortality and accepting your ultimate limit is the final form of self-respect. I'm Terry Stubbs. This is the River Styx on a Motorboat. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Please leave comments for discussion in the comments. Rule your domain with balance. Tend your flame of the hearth. Respect the limit of your lightning. See you all out on the water.